a request for a recap on network topologies and networks in general. A network is two or more computers connected together. A local area network, a LAN, is a small geographical area, usually owned by one organization or person. One site, one building, usually in an office or school. Those are LANs. WAN is two or more LANs connected together in a wide geographical area, not owned by one company or organization or person, because you have to pay the telecommunication companies for the phone lines to connect them together. WANs are one of the biggest one is the internet. Remember, you need a DNS, like an address book, to turn the URL into an IP address. Okay, so let's look at the two topologies you need to know about as well. So you need to know about a star topology. Star topology has a central device called a switch. It connects all the devices together in one central point. It uses the MAC address to send data to a specific device. It only sends to the device that needs it. One major flaw is that if the central device fails, like the switch, every device loses internet connection. The next one is a mesh. There is no central device. Each device is equal. Each device sends data to all other devices. And the negative for this is there's lots of cabling needed. If you added one computer, it would need a lot of cabling to connect them all together. Positive, self-healing. So devices, if one breaks, it can still communicate. The network still runs. There's no central point of failure. Next thing, layers. Networks is massive. They work in different layers. For example, the application layer up here, where the network application runs, for example, your web browser, which uses HTTP protocol, hypertext transfer protocol, unencrypted, HTTPS, which is encrypted, and other applications, possibly email, which uses SMTP, and files are transferred also using FTP. So emails SMTP, file transfer protocol FTP. Layers are interoperable because different devices can work on one layer and connect to another layer. It doesn't matter how the other layer works, they just need to be able to connect to each other. For example, the transport layer, TCP IP. Remember, the TCP protocol, transmission control protocol, it breaks data into packets, routes it across the internet, and on the other end can combine the packets back together. IP is all about adding the IP address of the destination and the sender, so data gets sent to the correct place. Each device has a unique IP address. The routers use the IP address to decide the best path for each packet. And lastly, the link layer, the Ethernet or Wi-Fi layer, governs the physical transmission of data. Ethernet uses cables, reliable, fast, secure. Wi-Fi uses radio waves, flexible but can be intercepted, slower, affected by interference as well. Wi-Fi can be affected by interference. This layer's job is how data is physically transmitted to the network. You don't need to remember the names of the layers in the specification, but you need to know why they use layer. Each layer has a defined role. Manufacturers can update one layer without breaking the others, allow standards to develop independently. You can develop different apps for different things, and you can also take a layer out, fix it, change it, and won't affect the other layers, and different people can work on different layers. Hardware. The four hardware you need to know for networking: network interface card. A hardware component allows the device to connect to a network, has a unique MAC address. So each device has a network interface card to connect to the network. Switch connects multiple devices, like we saw in LAN, uses MAC address to direct packets, data, and only to the intended device, not broadcasting to everybody like it used to. Router connects different LANs together. networks together, routing data packets between your LAN and the internet using IP address, and wireless access point allows wireless devices to connect to a wired LAN, transmitting data using radio waves Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi does have issues with interference, walls, windows, etc. Let's have a look. If we've got network performance here, the more bandwidth you have, is how much data you can download and use at one time. Latency could be the delay, and that could be caused by many things. Interference, data has been having to be resent, and how many users, that affects the performance. The more users you have to share the bandwidth, and that affects the performance of the network. So how much bandwidth you have affects the network performance, how much latency you have, and how much users are currently on the network. Let's look at some questions. DNS lookup. Describe how the domain name system is used to retrieve an IP address for a website. Let's look at this answer. The DNS searches the internet for this website that the user wants to see. Once it finds the files, it sends them back to the browser so the user can look at the page. 0 marks. DNS does not search for files. DNS search for websites. No, it doesn't do that. It only looks for the IP. It does not find the website itself. Okay, let's look at another answer from student, 4 out of 4. So this is the answer you should be writing. The URL is sent to the DNS by your computer or browser, who looks up the domain name in its database. So here's a table, and it finds a matching IP address, sends it back to your browser. Then your browser then connects it to the IP address to the website file from the web server. Remember, yours is a local browser, and then we're accessing the web server where the web page is stored. The DNS gives us the IP address we need to connect. So this gets us 4 marks. You correctly mentioned URL submission, database lookup, finding the matching IP, and the browser requesting from the server. So let's look at topologies. Explain one advantage and one disadvantage of using a star topology compared to a mesh topology. So here we've got 1 mark. Star topology is better because it is simpler to set up, and you don't need many wires. A mesh topology is confusing because everything is connected, and it costs more money. 1 mark for correctly identifying mesh topology has more money because of a lot more cabling, but the rest is simpler and confusing are too vague to get any marks. Here's a much better answer. An advantage of star topology is that it is cheaper to install as it requires less cabling. That's the key point. Then a full mesh. Disadvantage is that the central switch is a single point of failure. That's another one advantage, one disadvantage. If it fails, the entire network goes down. That's 4 marks. School is considering switching from a wired Ethernet network to a wireless Wi-Fi network. Explain one benefit and one drawback of this change for students. 2 marks here, the student got. A benefit is that the student can move around with their laptops and do work anywhere. That should have been another mark. Drawback is that the internet might be slower and the people could hack into it easier. Identifies mobility, 1 mark. Speed and security issues, 1 mark. Okay, didn't get the full mark here, but it failed to provide technical explanation for the drawback, e.g. interference and encryption. Here's a better answer. Benefit is increased mobility, as the student can connect to the network from any location. Mobility, location within the range of a WAP, a wireless access point, without being connected to a cable, tethered to a cable. A drawback is that wireless signals are prone to interference, so they're given a negative here, and from walls and other devices, and which can reduce the effective bandwidth compared to a wired connection. Benefit, mobility range, 2 marks. Drawback, interference bandwidth, 2 marks. Another question. Explain the difference between a network switch and a router. A switch connects computers together in a house. A router connects you to the internet so you can look at websites and play games. Correctly identifies basic roles, 2 marks, but fails to explain the technical differences MAC and IP address. Switch is used to connect devices within a LAN and uses MAC addresses to direct data to the correct device. A router is used to connect different networks together. A LAN to the internet and uses IP address to route data packets. Last question. Identify and explain two factors that can affect the performance of a network. One factor is how many people are using it, because it gets clogged up. That's not very technical terminology right there. Another factor is how fast the internet is in your area. Not very good. Answer: clogged up, how fast, too vague, using technical terms like bandwidth and congestion. Let's have a look. One factor is bandwidth, which is the amount of data that can be transferred at one time. That's a good explanation and a factor. Low bandwidth reduces speed, gives you explanation there. Another factor is the number of users. Congestion and many users sharing the same bandwidth reduce the available speed for each person, getting full marks there. So that's networks in a quick summary video.